Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Connecting America on the USA Today streaming channels. Happy Friday.
It's finally here.
Happy Friday. I'm Dave Briggs. I take it black. She's Karen Chetry. 3 creams, 1 sweetener.
I did 2 creams, 2 sweeteners this morning.
Oh,
yeah, because
mix
it's
it
Friday.
up.
Yeah,
Yes,
of course.
It's Friday. She's getting wild. We're here in Roselle Park, New Jersey at the Sunrise Diner. And boy, is it a busy way to end the news week. This one, breaking last night. Former FBI Director James Comey will be formally charged this morning after being indicted on a federal grand jury on 2 counts, making false statements during his testimony to Congress in 2020 and obstructing a congressional investigation. This is a direct result of President Trump's threat to imprison his political rivals. Truly unprecedented. More on that in a bit.
And that's just one of the many breaking stories out of D.C. But first, there is double trouble in the tropics. We have tropical storm Humberto, and is expected to turn into a hurricane today in the Atlantic and get stronger. And it may be soon butting up against a second tropical storm, which causes the dreaded Fujiwara effect.
I drink when I hear Fujiwara.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Well, you're going to hear it a lot
game.
this morning. Let's bring in AccuWeather meteorologist Alex De Silva, who's been tracking the latest. Good morning, Alex.
Fujiwara.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Yeah, we got the update from the National Hurricane Center earlier this morning, and they did, in fact, make Humberto, way out here, a hurricane. So now we have a Category 1 hurricane out in the Atlantic right now. The other area of interest that we're watching is located right down here, just off the eastern tip of Cuba. This is the area that is more of a concern for the United States, but Humberto matters as well because I think they're going to influence one another here over the course of the weekend and certainly into portions of next week here. So we'll take a look first at Humberto's track. We're expecting rapid intensification here over the next couple of days. We're expecting it to become even a Category 4 hurricane sometime this weekend. But luckily, this storm should stay well offshore of the United States, passing somewhere between Bermuda and the Outer Banks of North Carolina. But it will still be close enough to the southeast coast where I think it's going to start to influence whatever develops, down in the Bahamas area, which we're expecting to become Imelda. So again, right now, where is our tropical rainstorm? Just off the eastern tip of Cuba, expected to climb to the north here over the next couple of days, bringing very heavy rain to portions of the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas over the next few days. And then the big question mark is, where does it go from there, right? So there's, I think, 2 different scenarios that we're really looking for here, one of which would take this Imelda, likely to become Imelda. That's the next name on the list. Further to the north, and that one is probably the worst case scenario for the U.S. It would drive the storm in to the Carolinas, maybe stall the storm in that area early next week, and then we could be dealing with a very big flooding situation across portions of eastern Georgia all the way up through Virginia here. If that storm moves into the coast and then stalls. The other potential scenario, and this one would be maybe a little bit better for the United States, is if the storm stalls a little bit further south and then Humberto is actually able to tug the storm out to sea. So it is certainly possible that future Imelda is still pulled out to sea. And of course, that would be a little bit of a better situation for the United States. But you did mention the Fujiwara effect, and I think we might see a little bit of it early next week with the 2 storms. Like I said, I think they're going to be influencing one another to a degree. Now, this is a phenomena that takes place when there's 2 cyclones. They could be tropical or non-tropical within about 850 miles of one another, and they start to do a little bit of a dance together if they get within that distance, kind of like 2 figure skaters dancing together. They can start to try to rotate around one another, and their paths can become a little more erratic. So we're going to have to watch out for that as well, because if Humberto gets maybe a little bit closer to likely future Imelda, we could get a little bit of a dance going there, and that could help to stall the storm near the coast. And that's, I think, how we could get that more worst case scenario where we see a stall near the coast or on the coast, and then we get a lot of rain.
All right. Well, hopefully that will not happen. We'll continue tracking it with Alex De Silva. Thanks so much.
The dance makes it sound so nice and pleasant, though, doesn't it? All right, back to the James Comey indictment and President Trump posting on Truth Social, quote, "One of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI." Adding, "He has been so bad for our country for so long and is now at the beginning of being held responsible for his crimes against our nation."
All right. Well, as we mentioned, this all goes back to Comey's testimony at a congressional hearing that took place in September of 2020. Comey repeated his earlier statement from 2017 that he never disclosed or approved the leak of information about Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. Trump insists that Comey is lying, and Comey responded to the indictment with this: "My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump." Actually, I think we have.
Let's hear from Comey himself.
Family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Comey posting that message on social media. It's been a long road for Trump to get the indictment he has wanted, well, for at least a year. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. First, let's bring in attorney Darren Smallcombe. He's our go-to legal advisor here. Darren, you're also fully licensed to practice in the federal courts. What will happen this morning when Comey is expected to be indicted?
Well, he's going to go in for the arraignment itself, and he's going to have to turn himself in. Now, whether they are going to arrest him or not, well, that remains to be seen. It's pretty unlikely because it looks like the case has now been assigned to a Judge Nachmanoff in the Eastern District of Virginia. He is a Biden appointee. And so this may throw a wrinkle into the plans. Obviously, we like to think that justice is blind, but sometimes biases do creep in. And we'll see how that plays out. So the first part's already happened at this point, is that he has been indicted. The Department of Justice brought 3 charges to the grand jury, and the grand jury returned 2 of them and threw one of them out, 2 of them saying that there's been a false statement that was made to Congress, and that false statement in and of itself was obstruction of justice. Each of those counts carries 5 years potentially of prison time if convicted. And so, as you asked, the first part here is the indictments that's happened, and now we have the surrender and the arraignment, which is scheduled for October 9th at this point. And once that happens, then there is going to be a process called discovery and pre-trial. And so each side is going to exchange the evidence. They're going to file their motions. They're going to try to obviously dismiss the charge from the beginning before you get to the next stage, which is going to be the trial itself.
Can we just back up a little bit to how unusual this is, that a president of the United States asks for something on social media and the DOJ, after an attorney quits because he didn't see a case, and then inputs a new one that tries that case? Just how unusual this is.
Well, the social media aspect is certainly unusual. I'm not sure if the message that he wrote was intended to be a direct message. Yeah, publicly, very much so. I'm not sure if he meant to DM Pam Bondi with that message, or whether he intended to be public with it. But nonetheless, it went out there that Trump certainly wanted Comey prosecuted before the statute of limitations came up, which was, I believe, 4 or 5 days from now. And so time was of the essence to either do something or not at all.
I'm curious why they keep saying, why we're hearing the headlines say unprecedented. I mean, the Biden DOJ did almost this exact same thing to President Trump. He was indicted on 37 counts, all of it appearing to be directed by the White House. And obviously, this is something that Trump promised to do, which was exact revenge for being dragged into that situation when he was not in power.
Certainly, it's not unprecedented in that aspect. With regards to the social media, yes, but the short phrase that's been going around social media now from everybody on the right is "no one is above the law." those simple 6 words were the same words that were used by everyone on the left for years for all the indictments against Trump and his circle. Around 20 people had indictments during the last 5 years from the last Department of Justice. So it's not unprecedented in that aspect. This is, as they say, turnabout is fair play. Whether it's good for the country or not, that remains to be seen. And whether there's merit to the case or not, certainly will be fleshed out in a court of law.
This is the federal government has a pretty good record on this type of charges. Why is that? What do they need to prove? What would you expect in terms of a defense, which also could be difficult?
Well, they need to prove that, of course, that he made a statement, which he did, and that it was false. And they allege that it was, in fact, false, that he knew it was false. That's a material element, and
Right.
that's
Mhm.
likely what's going to be a big part of the defense. But that statement itself materially influenced the government, and it was made within the federal jurisdiction, which, of course, it was. It was done during a Senate Judiciary Committee. And the second aspect, which is the obstruction charge, they need to prove that that statement basically stopped the investigation into the leaks so that it materially affected the investigation itself. And so the government is trying to prove those things. And of course, Comey will defend himself, that more than likely his defense, if I were his attorney, would be that he didn't intend to deceive, that he answered to the best of his knowledge at the time,
Uh-huh.
and that maybe if he did make a mistake or misspeak, that it was immaterial. It didn't affect any sort of investigation in the big picture, and that will likely be how he'll present himself.
Real quickly, Lindsay Halligan, who's bringing this case, has never tried a single case. How unusual is that?
For a case of this high profile, it's a
Yeah.
little bit unusual. I mean, everybody needs to get their start somewhere. I remember my first day in court, but at the same time, you would think if you're prosecuting the former director of the FBI, they would probably have one of their top guns doing it.
All right. Well, we will,
Yes.
I'm sure, be talking about this a lot in the future. Thanks so much for being with us this morning. Meantime, Comey's indictment is just one of the big stories that we're following out of D.C. Also, a looming government shutdown. New reports say the White House may be preparing to turn what have always been temporary furloughs into permanent layoffs. We're going to go to USA Today White House correspondent Bart Jansen right now. Good morning to you, Bart. What are you hearing from your sources inside the White House?
Well, they are still plunging ahead with saying that they are considering layoffs, that they are taking a very harsh stand, a strict stand against this potential shutdown. And so both sides are preparing for a shutdown in the middle of next week.
How serious do you think these furloughs turning into mass layoffs, how serious is that reality?
Well, I think we should take them at their word. Since Trump took office, he has talked about reducing the size of the federal government, and something like 300,000 fewer workers are in the federal workforce now than at the beginning of the year. About half of those took basically voluntary departures, which will be going into effect again on September 30th. And the rest were these thousands, tens of thousands of layoffs at agencies that he was reducing the size of or abolishing altogether, or well, nearly entirely, such as the U.S. Agency for International Development. So they have shown no qualms about trying to reduce the size of the government. And so I think that any jobs that aren't protected by statute, basically, if Congress has said you have to do such and such a job, those jobs are protected, but there are a whole lot others that are created by a department head or the agency as part of regulations, and those could be wiped out overnight once the spending bills expire on September 30th.
The economic backdrop is an interesting time, of course, Kieran, because jobs data is softening. The unemployment's been going up. Jobs data has been weak a couple months after month. So that would be a bold move by the White House just with the economic backdrop in this country.
It also could be, though, Bart, a negotiating tactic, right, to get Democrats to agree to a deal. Or is this an actual strategy that the government is, that the administration is trying to do either way?
Well, I think it's at least a tactic to get the Democrats to the negotiating table. The thinking is that Democrats would care more about federal workers being thrown out of their jobs, particularly with the heavy influence here in the Maryland and Virginia suburbs, with a lot of workers here. Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries in the House has already said that federal workers should be paying attention to this and maybe vote Democrat in their gubernatorial election, which is coming up in early November. But Trump has also said that he, wants to reduce the size of government. Part of the fight over the overall federal spending dispute is that these hundreds of thousands of jobs have been lost during the year, but these were jobs that Congress previously approved. So we're still basically in the middle of a fight about whether those cuts become permanent. And that's part of what makes these discussions so complicated. The House Republicans approved a temporary Band-Aid spending bill to extend spending as it happens now through November 21st. But that's where Democrats have blocked that in the Senate, and so that's where things stand.
And Democrats are pushing very hard because of the Affordable Health Care Act. They want to ensure that continues. And of course, on the Republican side, they're saying that there's not enough money.
Yeah, there are two major health aspects to what Democrats are talking about right now. One is Medicaid cuts. Part of that is Republicans say, hey, we're just trying to get rid of undocumented immigrants collecting federal benefits. Another aspect of that is forcing people to work or try to find jobs or volunteer for 80 hours a week in exchange for Medicaid benefits. Democrats are trying to abolish those cuts. And then there are the Obamacare subsidies, the sign up for the next year of Obamacare benefits is coming November 1st. And so we're right in the midst of when people are going to decide, all right, do I want this or do I not? And the subsidies, the federal subsidies are a big faction of that. Yeah. So it's very important to both sides. The Republicans say, hey, that's $1 trillion we're trying to get rid of.
We've gone back and forth on shutdowns for 30 years. We want to circle back real quickly to the James Comey indictment. What are you hearing from either White House sources or career professionals about the process and the indictment?
Well, I think Republicans and the White House are very happy to see what they say is justice being served, that they have thought Comey acted badly since that investigation in 2016. Trump has complained about the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. From the start, he fired Comey. He has thought Comey he called him a bad actor, a sick guy. So there is, I think, quite a bit of satisfaction in the White House for finally getting charges brought. But among Democrats and civil libertarians, huge concerns about what looks like the White House directing the Justice Department, which since the Watergate era 50 years ago has theoretically been independent within the executive branch, but independent of the president as it decides who to prosecute. Big concerns that the president could unleash federal prosecutors on any of his political enemies.
All right. Well, it's very good to hear from you this morning, Bart Jansen, White House correspondent. We also learned on Thursday that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth summoned top military leaders to a rare meeting in Virginia. This is happening next week. Did not offer a reason for this abrupt meeting. It was just added to the calendar. It's going to be at Quantico, a Marine Corps base close to the Pentagon, and it's going to take place on Tuesday, September 30th. According to the Washington Post, Hegseth ordered senior officers, including one-star generals and admirals, that could be as many as 800 military senior officers.
Major announcement there. Let's take a few steps back to the James Comey story and how we got here to today. We'll go back 9 years, in fact. 2016, Comey led the FBI investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails and Trump's campaign ties to Russia. He says he did not authorize any leaks to the press. 2017, Comey reaffirmed to Congress that he did not disclose or approve leaks of confidential info on Clinton nor Trump. September 2020, during the COVID pandemic, remote testimony by Comey about the 2016 investigation became the basis for the current indictment. Now we fast forward to 2 weeks ago, former U.S. Attorney Eric Siebert resigned after Trump threatened him for moving too slow on cases against political foes. Trump did appoint him basically to do that. Trump then demanded his attorney general, Pam Bondi, on social media to move fast on Comey and others like New York Attorney General Letitia James, Congressman Adam Schiff, and others. And this week, Trump's former personal attorney, Lindsay Halligan, took over Siebert's job. And last night, the Comey indictment was filed. We mentioned this is the first case she has ever tried. Nothing like that has ever been heard from before. And Jim Comey, what a consequential figure. I mean, I don't know many people who are demonized on both sides of the aisle. I mean, Democrats can't stand Comey because he arguably ushered in the Trump era. Trump should love James Comey. I mean, literally, if it weren't for Comey releasing those Hillary Clinton emails, we may not have had a Trump presidency. Remember, both sides of the Comey coin are complicated.
Yeah, and also back to whether or not this is going to be something that actually has legs, the charges and how hard they are to prove. It does seem
I
like
actually hear they're not that hard to prove.
Well,
they have a 90% prosecution rate, the federal government, on similar charges.
Well, in this case, they don't have direct documentation. There are texts,
yes.
There are possible emails, and there's he said,
which is
basically
ultimately what this one comes down to.
Right.
Yeah.
Because his deputy director said that
Andrew McCabe?
Andrew McCabe said that he did authorize a leak, and then the person who was the friend, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, New York Times, the guy that he said, hey, hold these for me, then leaked them to the New York Times. So there is a lot of people giving different accounts, but is there going to be enough proof on paper?
And where do we go from here? Connecting America just getting started. Up next, the race for New Jersey governor. That's really a national bellwether race. A new controversy popping up for the Democrat in this race. We'll take a closer look when we come back. Phenomo time. We love when Mark is here in the diner with us.
Good morning.
And nobody is following this huge race closer than you. The New Jersey governor race really is tightening and is a surprise bellwether for the country right now. I should mention the two biggest shifts in the country in 24, New York and New Jersey. That's why you got to watch it, man. 10 and 11% they shifted towards Trump.
That's
That
right.
metro area will get you every time.
Yeah.
Right? So we've seen two overlapping but distinct developments in this race. Recently, a cheating scandal was referred to again in terms of Mikey Sherrill. Mikey Sherrill is a Naval Academy graduate, very proud of her record. Her record is featured very prominently in terms of her campaigning, but at the same time, it's come out that she did not walk during her Naval Academy graduation in 1994. Why? At the time, there was a major cheating scandal where over 100 cadets got caught up in a cheating scandal about exam answers being passed out. But Mikey Sherrill herself did not do any of the cheating herself. However, she would not turn in any of her classmates regarding the cheating. Therefore, her punishment was she could not walk in the graduation.
Very strict military.
Very
code.
strict military.
Did she serve? That's what matters.
She absolutely served. She went on to serve about 10 years in the Naval Academy, ultimately got the highest civilian award from the Navy last year in 2024. And it's a very tricky situation because obviously in the military academies, honor, the honor code,
Right.
very important. But at the same time, she's dealing with the people she's going to be serving with in literally life or death situations.
Right. And so I assume there's full panic mode going on right now at Mikey Sherrill's campaign headquarters. This is like the September surprise, right?
Correct.
For them.
It's a September surprise, but at the same time, in terms of these cheating allegations, they've pushed back. In the zeal to get information out about her military record, something that opposition researchers from both parties do all the time, they essentially handed over largely unredacted personnel files from the National Archives to an ally of Republican candidate Jack Ciattarelli. And on these records, there was her social security number, her home address, her parents' home address, even information about an NDA where the NDA is essentially signed so that classified information doesn't get out to the public about her military service.
That's illegal, is it not?
The Privacy Act of 1974, this potentially could be illegal.
Wow. Okay. I just want to get back to the argument, the central argument. We're not arguing about her military record. We're arguing about whether or not she walked and the procedures related to it.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay. What do the polls say right now?
The polls are now dead even. This information about what was going on potentially with the cheating scandal came right after a poll was released where it is essentially a dead heat. The race is tied at 43% for Democratic candidate Mikey Sherrill and Republican candidate Jack Ciattarelli, with 11% still undecided.
You know, while this is taking up headlines right now, it seems that some of the biggest issues in New Jersey for the voters are all economic, between taxes and
Right.
the high cost of housing and the high cost of energy and a lot of those
You bet.
pocketbook issues.
What Democrat strategist James Carville famously said, it's the economy, stupid. 50% of the New Jersey electorate essentially said this is the issue that affects us more. Also in New Jersey, property taxes are some of the highest in the nation. That's always an issue. Electricity costs have been a great issue. And here there's a partisan divide. When you ask Democrats whose fault this is, it's the public utilities company. When you ask Republicans whose fault it is, it's the policies of Democrat Governor Phil Murphy.
That's right. So what role will independents play in this when you're in a dead heat here?
A huge role. As it says in this poll, there's 11% still undecided. In the state of New Jersey, you have, although there's a considerable Democratic registration advantage over Republicans, there's 2 million unaffiliated voters out there that both candidates really need to get to win this very close election. Again, an election that's being watched across the nation as a bellwether of how Trump is doing and what's going to happen in the midterms to come.
That's right.
I do want to mention this is one poll. This is the Hill Emerson that you're quoting.
Yes.
The Real Clear Politics, what they do is they take an average of all the polls. They have a plus 6.5% advantage for Sherrill. And if you look at, I mentioned them too much, perhaps Kalshi, the betting markets have a 79% chance that she wins this race and the Republican comes up short. So just to give you the whole picture when it comes to polls.
If you're a gambling man, you should take a look at what turnout is going to be like in both the suburbs and the cities, particularly in the cities. because Democrats nationwide have always looked to the cities to give them large pluralities, large turnouts that will lead to them having an advantage, particularly in a very close race. If the cities do not turn out in serious numbers for, in this case, the Democratic candidate, Mikey Sherrill, she could be in trouble.
And Mamdani's the city's kind of candidate. Cheryl is not that. I got to tell you, I think this race is really, really tight.
It's extremely
because
close.
The Democratic Party is far to the left of her right now, are they not?
It's
The energy.
interesting what's happening in terms of, you're talking about the New York metropolitan area being really
Yes.
interesting.
And
you see Mondami in New York, Zoran Mondami, looking like he's on the way to victory, and that's one vision of the Democratic Party. Mikey Sherrill, a more centrist vision.
Yes.
Right? She managed to win in a Democratic primary where there were serious progressive candidates, but now in the general election, it's a whole new dynamic.
One of the things that it could become an issue in the cities also is the fact that New Jersey is a sanctuary state.
Right.
And some of the big cities are feeling the pinch. There's been about 450,000 undocumented that have come in on the buses from Texas and other places that are really making social services difficult for some of these municipalities and schools. And there's been a lot of complaints about that.
True. And, there have been ICE raids in major cities in New
Right.
Jersey, such as Newark, that made people think locally, okay, what's going to happen now? Are we going to see ICE in the streets all the time? There's a controversy in New Jersey. What is the role of local municipalities in terms of helping ICE? There's a move to try to make sure that local police forces can't help federal authorities too much in their job. But under Jack Ciattarelli, that could very well change. They could say essentially, listen, immigration, this stops here. There will be no more sanctuary cities in New Jersey. So it depends on how you feel about immigration, about how you feel about these two ideas.
It's interesting. Just looking back at the last race, it was actually very close. Phil Murphy won by just about 3 points.
Just 3 points. And, and in 2024, Trump only lost this particularly Democratic state by 6 points.
6 points.
Keep your eye on this race.
And that was,
Absolutely.
and in 2020 it was 16 points. So he did make up some ground. We'll see what happens.
He's
This
making
will be
gains.
a difficult one for Democrats
Right.
to explain.
Get your
if they don't-
coffee.
if they don't
Right.
win.
Stay up late and watch the election.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Good
Mark.
stuff, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Up next, a jewelry heist in Northern California. All of it was caught on camera. We'll tell you how much was taken and whether the thieves have been caught. We'll be right back. So, good job.
He's going to win, isn't he? Happy Friday, folks. Welcome back to Connecting America here from the in Roselle Park, New Jersey, the Sunrise Diner. We're dishing the top stories from around the country, and Daddy needs a refill. How you doing?
Me too. Right?
Okay.
I got to get up pretty early around here, and we have people that just sat down. So maybe we'll talk to them a little later.
I'm going to go take their order. That's cool.
That's what we do between the breaks. Well, this is something you don't see every day. Nearly 25 people stormed a jewelry store. This happened in San Ramon, California, just east of Oakland. Broad daylight, just running in there. They stole about $1 million worth of jewelry.
Wow.
This happened. I mean, this is sad, but the efficiency is unbelievable.
Axes.
Yeah, crowbars.
Guns.
They say they were armed. Pickaxes, crowbars, smash and grab in the cases, get the merchandise, and get out. So far, police have arrested 7 suspects. What's crazier is that this is the second $1 million robbery at this same store this year.
That is stunning video. You can see my jaw drop and hit the floor there. All right, Amazon will pay $2.5 billion to settle claims it tricked millions of people into Prime memberships. The Federal Trade Commission says $1 billion is a civil penalty and $1.5 billion will be refunded to customers. Regulators say Amazon used sophisticated subscription traps and made it difficult to cancel. Eligible subscribers, unfortunately, could receive up to $51 each. It sounds like I'm going to get my hands on some of that Amazon money.
When they say billion, and then when it trickles down to the consumer,
right,
it's $50.
With all the effort that you're going to put forth to get that. All right, the company must now add a clear button on its website to let customers decline Prime. Amazon agreed to the settlement without admitting wrongdoing. Are you a Prime member?
Yeah, it could have been by accident, but I'm here now.
I mean, I couldn't live without it. I hate it.
I know.
But I can't pay for shipping. And I need my stuff on the door. I ordered golf balls yesterday. They're going to be here when I get home.
I know. I feel guilty sometimes doing that, doing the same day.
I feel terribly guilty.
Yeah. I mean,
but we're all trapped.
Yeah, we are. Well, it looks like the economy had a little more spring in its step this past spring. The Commerce Department now says the economy grew nearly 4% in the second quarter. That's up from the original estimate of about 3%. The GDP, which is the total value of of everything the U.S. produces and sells, got a boost from strong consumer spending. Officials say business also invested more than expected, especially in the areas of research, development, and buying new equipment.
I don't mean to accuse the mainstream media of anything here, but that was a really big deal. I didn't feel like it got the traction that it should.
That it grew.
3.8% GDP number is everything our economy needs
right
now. There are a lot of fears that it was maybe shrinking, contracting. That is a big number, and one I'm actually surprised the Trump administration didn't tout more.
They haven't been hammering this one.
All right, one area that is not growing: housing. It has been a rough couple of years. Existing home sales slipped last month, even as prices kept climbing. Sales only dipped a little, but because they make up most of the housing market, economists say it's a worrying sign. The median price of a home rose 2%, now topping $422,000. Home prices have gone up for 26 months in a row. There is some good news. Mortgage rates dropped to their lowest since last fall, 6.25% on a 30-year fixed loan. Trouble is, most people are locked in a 3,
much lower,
maybe a 4. So we're nowhere near getting the housing market moving again. Nowhere even close. This might be a mid-26, 2027 story.
That's right.
And that is not good for our economy.
Well, as we first reported yesterday, Starbucks is planning to lay off 900 workers and close several stores immediately. This is part of a $1 billion turnaround plan for the company. The coffee chain plans to close what they call underperforming stores. Workers in stores will be offered to transfer to other locations and also severance if that's not possible. Starbucks will let non-retail employees know today if they're going to be let go. This is the second round of layoffs for Starbucks this year.
Yeah, it's that former Chipotle CEO who came aboard and hasn't really been able to turn that ship around. I mean, it may be like turning around a tanker, but they're closing 100 stores, which doesn't surprise me. And I'll tell you why, because I don't know about you, but every time I go into New York City and I put in Starbucks to my app, I look around, there's like 7 within like 2 miles.
I know. You know what one shouldn't close if you're in the Broadway area? There's only one there that has a bathroom. All the other Starbuckses do not have a bathroom.
Only for customers.
No. They just do not have bathrooms. They don't. I know this because my daughter and I had some coffee on the way to the Broadway.
It's a major issue in New York City. If you live somewhere else, bathrooms in New York City, major issue.
Yes.
Up next, sleep is important for your health and also your mental health. Amen. Dr. Jeffrey Gardier joins us after the break to explain that. We know all too well. We'll be back.
Yeah.
You've noticed we do love our coffee here on Connecting America.
I'm drinking from an extra large cup this morning.
Yes, and that's why we're excited to launch an ongoing series right here called Perfect Night's Sleep.
And we're going to start with one of the biggest concerns when it comes to healthy night's sleep, and that is snoring. So let's bring in Dr. Jonathan Greenberg. He's the founder of Zipa. That's a device to stop snoring.
Dr. Greenberg, thanks for being here. Before we talk about Zipa specifically, snoring, we know it's annoying, but why is it also a health concern?
When somebody is snoring, they interrupt that deep sleep. If you don't get that REM sleep, if you're not dreaming, your immune system is not being refortified, and it's like you're cutting your police force or the army by 50% the next day. We talk about not just snoring, but what I call secondhand snoring. So the bed partner is impacted as well. Harvard did a study. If you don't get your REM sleep from the night before, you are 4 times at greater risk of an accident the next morning in particular. So the mom who's driving the kids to school is at 4 times a greater risk of a car accident because you, the husband, didn't stop your snoring. And there are great ways to stop the snoring. What's the main cause of snoring? It's actually the tongue. A big tongue in a small mouth. I've treated over 10,000 patients for snoring and sleep apnea. So I've seen this over and over again. When we're awake, our muscle tone is normal. So it's when we fall asleep, we lose that muscle tone, especially to our tongue, it falls back.
So what is the device to counter that?
A silicone strap keeps the tongue from falling back. Here's the mouthpiece, and this strap here is what I call a seatbelt for the tongue. And that's what keeps the tongue from falling back. If the tongue behaves, you don't even know it's there. But if the tongue doesn't behave, just like a seatbelt, it will keep it from falling back and having you snore. Our clinical trial, 91% successful. Our competitors were about 20 to 50% successful. We're talking about really making great inroads for sleep health. We're coming up on breast cancer awareness. I think everybody listening has been affected by someone close to them who's had breast cancer. Zipa said, what can we do? Because we want people to be as healthy as possible. And so our goal is to actually donate $50,000 to Susan G. Komen by the end of October, which means selling through 5,000 of our mouthpieces. The mouthpiece normally is $99. We're taking $10 off, so it'll be $89. We're donating $10 to Susan G. Komen on every mouthpiece sold, and we're giving a 30-day month supply of the mouth tape as well. We've sold over 500,000 of these. Our return rate last year was 4%. We know that it works. So we extended our money-back guarantee from normally 30 days to 91 days. We're not worried about anybody returning it. We want them to take the time to make sure they're successful with it. People always say, how do I spell Zipa? I came out of the 60s and 70s. So we played our records backwards. We did everything backwards. Well, Zipa is happy Z spelled backwards. So I said, what does everybody want? We want happy sleep. So happy Z. Zipa is happy Z spelled backwards.
Doctor, thanks so much for all the information. Really interesting. Go to zipa.com. Use the code PINK, as we were talking about for breast cancer awareness, or the word REST, which is what we all want, to 511-511. Again, zipa.com. The code PINK or REST to 511-511, and you'll be helping to fight breast cancer and stop your snoring.
And keep watching Connecting America to learn how to get the perfect night's sleep.
Text fees may apply.
Karen?
I'm kind of hot. I'm certainly not snoring, though. I'm certainly not snoring.
She's not snoring.
Yeah.
She can't talk.
It's my first time wearing a tongue seatbelt.
Seatbelt? Oh, it's a tongue seatbelt.
Yeah. All right.
I like this game.
As long as you don't talk in your sleep, I guess it works. Yikes.
You
All right.
are a good sport.
I'll be ready to try it. Why not? I don't even snore.
I do. I should.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You've sleeping in a separate room the last couple nights, man.
I know. It's hard. It's hard. Anti-snoring devices like this one, they're not, wait, we just showed that they're not just a marriage saver. They're also part of a much bigger sleep industry, from white noise machines, which I do have. Special pillows, I do have.
I do too.
I'm very picky. I travel with the pillow. It's bad. And the sound machine.
Travel with the pillow.
And the sound machine.
Next level.
I know. There's medications. There's high-tech apps. Millions of Americans are searching for anything for a good night's rest.
Research, however, published in the journal Sleep Health warns that sleep deprivation is far more than an inconvenience. It can impact your body and your mind. Psychologist Dr. Jeffrey Gard here joins us with more on that. Dr. Jeff, great to have you on. I could talk about this for hours. How does struggling to sleep impact your mental health?
Well, first of all, good morning to you, Dave, and to my old friend, Karen.
Hi,
Karen,
Dr.
so great
Jeff.
to see you.
It is wonderful to see you.
Yeah, we've been doing this a long time. So great to see you both. But when we're looking at the struggle to sleep, what the impact is, well, one of the things we know, Dave, is that the brain's ability to regulate emotions is impaired. And so therefore, it makes people more irritable, more reactive, more prone to mood swings. We know it raises levels of cortisol, which puts you at risk for medical issues, right? Hypertension, weakened immune system, and so on, but also anxiety and depression. And as we learned from the doctor who was on before, sleep is essential for concentration, essential for memory, essential for decision making. So without it, all of those three areas are impacted.
You know, the mental health component, a lot of people have a hard time shutting off their brains at night. I know when I'm trying to fall asleep, it just feels like everything I was supposed to do is circling in my head, everything that I'm dreading doing the next
Cold
day.
nap and lavender on your pillow.
All right.
Tip.
All right.
Pro tip. 2 things.
But it's hard to shut your brain off.
It really is. Look, the two of you last night, I'm a bit of a, what would you call it? I can read minds a little bit. I'm reading your minds from last night, and you guys were thinking about the news stories for Connecting America. It's so hard to get rid of the things that we're processing at night, and that's why it's important, Karen, before we hit the pillow, maybe read a book, do something that is much more neutral. Stay away from the phones, as we can see right here, because that light really does impair what we call melatonin, which is a hormone that helps you sleep at night. So those are the things that you can do. That sleep hygiene of preparing yourself and keeping that stress down will give you a better night's rest.
I was actually wrestling with whether or not to watch the Seahawks Cardinals because it impacted my fantasy football week, but that's just for everyone else.
Yeah, that's calming.
Dave, I watch that stuff to put me asleep, but go ahead.
My curiosity is there's a lot of things. Is it about getting 8 hours? Is it about how much you sleep? Is it about how you sleep? Is it about regularity? Like if there's one thing that you'd advise to our viewers, what is it? Because there's so many complex elements to sleep.
Sure, absolutely. Well, most sleep experts will tell you 7 hours, 7 to 8 hours is optimal, but some people get 6 hours of sleep. When you become a senior citizen like myself, you're lucky if you can get 5 to 6 hours sleep. We just change in that way. So the bottom line is it's the quality of sleep. The quality of uninterrupted sleep, if you will. And if you have to get up in the middle of the night and so on, it's really important not to walk around the house or turn on the TV, but to get back into bed and be aware of the sleep hygiene of having your curtains drawn, having a cooler room, and being able to rest once again.
All right. Well, the other question is, can you break it up? Let's say, can you get the 6 hours and then maybe a nap in the afternoon, or is that just not considered as helpful as a straight through the night sleep?
I think a straight through the night sleep, Kieran, is better. That's just my opinion. But naps are so important. I know that many times my ego would not allow me to take a nap, and I found out that yes, if you take a 30-minute nap, an hour nap, not on the bed, but on the couch or a chair, that can make up some of the sleep that you lose. But most importantly, it gives you a respite in the middle of the day so that you can have more energy to make it through.
I'm a big fan of Huberman Labs. Dr. Andrew Huberman says the most important thing is regularity. Go to bed and get up at the same time every day, which is tough for people that have to get up at 4 for work. How much are devices impacting our sleep and therefore our mental health?
Yeah, so we know things such as doom scrolling late at night, that interrupts the sleep cycle. The light, sometimes the blue light that's emitted from these devices can suppress melatonin, as I said before. Melatonin is very important. It is a hormone that says, hey, you're tired, you need to rest. So when that's interrupted, well, then that begins to give us more of the sleep issues that we're talking about. So folks, please put these things away before you go to bed, at least an hour or two. Don't turn on the TV. Make sure you draw your curtains because, as you said, Dave, it is about the consistency of the sleep. It is about the sleep hygiene. Those are the things that are most important. Bottom line here, and I think this is so important for people to know, sleep is not just about physical rest. Really, it's about the mental fuel. And without enough of it, emotional balance, resilience, and mental health will suffer.
One quick question about the melatonin. You mentioned how it's essential. What about taking a melatonin supplement? Because I've heard mixed things about that.
Well, some people do take it and they find that it is helpful. But I think in the long run, what you want to do is look at more of a behavioral approach. And a lot of that is the sleep hygiene that we've talked about. Make sure the room is cool. Make sure the curtains are drawn. Make sure that you have proper sheets. In Dave's household, where he snores just a little bit, sleeping in separate bedrooms is not such a bad idea because you do want your partner to get more quality of sleep. Though, Dave, I know you're not crazy crazy about that.
Nope, I'm
However,
a snuggler.
it can be essential.
I'm a snuggler. I don't like it at
A
all, Dr.
snoring
Jeff.
snuggler,
I
your
don't like
poor
it at all.
wife.
Thank
Dr.
you, Doc.
Jeff, great to see you as usual.
One thing that is
Great.
not good for sleep, I did everything right last night. My cat sat on my face at 3 a.m. because that's when he wants attention.
Oh my
And I gave it to him.
gosh.
Cats are selfish. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
The CDC says measles cases are rising across the country. More than 1,500 cases reported with new outbreaks in Utah and Arizona. Cases now spreading across 42 states and D.C. 3 deaths and nearly 150 hospitalizations thus far. Johns Hopkins reports that less than 93% of kindergartners are fully vaccinated. Why does that matter? It's below the recommended 95% needed to prevent measles spread. Measles was largely eliminated in the U.S. in 2000. This is the largest outbreak since. Scary.
Yeah, it is. The threshold is slight, though. Hopefully they'll be able to.
It's just going in the wrong direction because, of course, the rhetoric out there about the safety of vaccines, which I am not a doctor. I'm not going to dive into this morning. Are you a doctor?
No.
Okay.
Well, if you'd like to connect with us, though, maybe you're a doctor and you want to talk to us, we'd love it. Follow us and find us on social media. You can go to our podcast. It's on iHeartRadio, where podcasts are found, Amazon Music, Apple, CastBox, Spotify, and here's our social medias if you'd like to connect on Instagram at Connecting America TV, also on TikTok for now, Connecting America. Do you think it's going anywhere?
No. We'll be right back at the top of the hour as the diner, we think, begins to fill up because it's Friday. We'll get some breakfast on the way as well. See you after the break.
The views expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of USA Today or its affiliates.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Connecting America on the USA Today streaming channels. Happy Friday. I'm Dave Briggs. Karen Chetry is here looking at my menu.
I see you already have the menu out this morning.
We're at the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey. The bigger the menu, the better the diner? Is that
I
kind
just
of
love to look through a huge laminated menu.
I mean,
like
aren't
that.
they always so
I just
massive?
love it. I do.
know.
And I love the pictures.
Oh, like shit. You watch Schitt's Creek?
Isn't it Schlitz?
It's Schitt's Creek.
All right.
It's the name of the show.
Kids out there,
Giant menu.
don't repeat it.
Three big stories out of D.C. on this Friday we will discuss this morning. First, the federal indictment of former FBI Director James Comey. He is one of the people President Trump has been asking his Justice Department to take down repeatedly into the microphone and on social media. The looming government shutdown that may turn to mass layoffs, according to reports. And a mystery meeting with the Pentagon's top brass summoned to Virginia next week by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. But first, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is heading to the United Nations in New York this morning to speak before the General Assembly. Netanyahu's speech comes as international calls for ceasefires grow louder in Gaza, and the world watches to see how he frames Israel's response.
Let's bring in Dave Sussman right now, an Israeli-American who lives in Israel and the host of the TV show Land of the Bible and one of Israel's most popular tour guides. Good morning to you. What are Israelis expecting to hear from Netanyahu today when he speaks before the UN?
Yeah, first of all, good morning to all of you there and happy Friday. I think there's a lot of anticipation amongst Israelis across the board. I think it's going to be a very fiery speech. I think it's going to be a speech that is filled with a lot of information, a lot of facts, and one that's taken from a position of leadership, of how do we move forward? How do we move forward post conflict with Gaza? How do we move forward as a region here in the Middle East? And how do we bring peace between us and the Palestinians?
Citizens want to hear from Netanyahu when he speaks today in light of the recent escalation in Gaza and, a lot of questions about Netanyahu's leadership?
Yeah, rephrase that question, please.
What have you heard that Israeli citizens would like to hear? What message would they like to hear delivered as they go in front of the world body where there are a lot of critics?
Right. I don't think that anything that I feel like most citizens here feel as though whatever Bibi Netanyahu says, those that have taken a strong position throughout the last decades. We're not talking about, our traditional allies. We're not talking about England and Germany and France and the Western countries, which, there have been a few of them that have recognized, Palestine as an equal amongst the nations, as a state amongst themselves. But I don't think that there's much hope in that something that our prime minister is going to say that's going to change public opinion. It hasn't worked for decades. I hope that I'm wrong, but I think that unfortunately, the narrative has been taken over about a Palestinian state rather than how do we put an end to this war in Gaza? How do we get rid of Hamas? How do we get rid of this terrorist regime that terrorizes their own people? How do we bring freedom to Gaza? How do we, secure the borders here in Israel and broaden the Abraham Accords? I think the idea of a Palestinian state right now is so far removed from your average Israeli that most of us are like, why is this even the subject that is being discussed right now? I mean, they have had the Palestinian Authority, which is the first time there's ever been an autonomous government run by Arabs here in the land of Israel ever throughout all of history. There's never been a self-government for the Arab people here in the land of Israel. They've had that since 1994. And what have they done? They haven't built, proper schools and hospitals and roads and infrastructure and a government, and, been able to stop the flood of terrorism coming into Israel. In fact, even when Yasser Arafat was the president of the Palestinian Authority, he's the one that promoted, that supplied, that funded the second Intifada from 2000 until 2004, killing over 1,000 Israelis. And now with Hamas in Gaza for 18 years, they've ruled there. And what have they done? They've done nothing but dig terror tunnels and attack Israelis on a constant basis. So I think before even approaching a Palestinian state or government, one needs to say, okay, how do we stabilize the Arabs that are living in Judea and Samaria and Gaza? And how do we put a government that's going to have some transparency?
Sure. I don't mean to cut you off, but we want to get to another question, which is international pressure, statements made by countries in the EU. How does that impact Netanyahu's position and what you expect him to say?
I feel like Bibi Netanyahu right now is not thinking about his political future, which is unheard of really here in Israel. I mean, Bibi Netanyahu has been the longer tenured prime minister in the history of Israel. There are a lot of us who support him and his efforts during this war, like myself, that would prefer to have another prime minister. But it doesn't mean that we're so violently against him either. And the reason why there are many of us who are like, hey, Bibi Netanyahu, it's time to pass the torch to the next leader. Let somebody else lead Israel now into our glorious future that is in front of us. However, he now I think is saying, hey, you know what? After this war is over, I'm ready, to sail off into the sunset and pass that torch. So I think he's going to come from a position of like, this is absurd that people are talking about a Palestinian state, and I think it's crazy that our Western allies like England and France and Germany have stated that they want to recognize a Palestinian state. I mean, other countries like Ireland and Portugal. I mean, it's almost it's not going to make an impact on your average Israeli, most of the countries that are stating this. However, obviously we want to have good relations with all the nations of the world. It's something that we definitely look to foster. But I think really Bibi Netanyahu is just going to come there and lay down the facts and say, why in the world, after everything that we've just seen for the last 30 years, never mind the last 2 years, the last 30 years, 18 years of Hamas, 30 years, or even more, 30 years, 31 years of the Palestinian Authority. What have they proven? How have they shown us that they can govern a nation and to give them statehood and allow them to import weapons and to build up a militia and to open their borders to whatever jihadists they want to open up? I mean, that's an absurd request. So okay. I think most of the people that are making policies understand that, and they're not going to do that.
David Sussman, thank you. Appreciate that.
One thing, if I
thank
could
you,
just,
David.
If I could just, all right. Can I throw in one more point?
Make it really quick, please.
Very quick. All I want to say is that, the nations that said we're going to recognize a Palestinian state, they haven't said, okay, we're going to put this policy in place and this policy and this policy in place. So as of now, it's just, putting it out there. And I think it is to apply pressure.
Got it. David Sussman, thank you.
All right.
Look, context for both of these world leaders, Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, very controversial in their own countries, both with the identical approval rating of 41%. So it is not as though he is hugely popular and everything he's saying is widely accepted there in Israel. Right. It is much like what we're facing right now with division in the country over leadership. A day earlier, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas told the UN General Assembly he is ready to work with President Trump and other world leaders on a new peace plan for Israel and Palestine. Abbas calls on Hamas to disarm, urging countries to recognize Palestine. France, the UK, and other nations have done so just this week. Transitional administration after ceasefire would include Hamas. Israel considers Hamas a terrorist group and would likely reject any deal involving it.
Three big stories out of D.C. this morning, starting with the federal indictment this morning of former FBI Director James Comey. He is one of the people that President Trump has been asking his Justice Department to take down. Comey will be formally charged after being indicted by a federal grand jury on 2 counts, making false statements during his testimony to Congress in 2020 and obstructing a congressional investigation.
President Trump posting on Truth Social about this indictment, calling Comey, quote, one of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI, adding he has been so bad for our country for so long and is now the beginning of being held responsible for his crimes against our nation. This all goes back to Comey's testimony at a congressional hearing in September 2020. Comey repeated his earlier statement from 2017 that he never disclosed or approved the leak of information about Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. Trump says Comey is lying, and Comey responded to the indictment like this.
I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Well, this indictment comes after 2 weeks of turmoil in Attorney General Pam Bondi's office. That's when Trump threatened to fire U.S. Attorney in Virginia, Eric Sept, for not moving fast enough on Comey and other Trump foes, including New York Attorney General Letitia James. Sept resigned days later, and then this week, Trump's former personal attorney, Lindsay Halligan, took over that job in Virginia. That was last night, and then delivered this indictment last night too.
Halligan has never tried a single case in her career. This is highly unusual, to say the least. You usually get your first case at a very low level, not the highest profile case in the country. Another unusual aspect to this is she couldn't find any of the 100 plus attorneys, prosecutors in the office to sign off on the indictment, so she had to sign off on it herself. This is highly unusual. But you know what's interesting about Comey is, I know Jim well, I've interviewed him several times. How many FBI directors can you name? I mean, he has injected himself so much into the dialogue in the country, and that's not whether you like him or not, FBI directors, we should not know their name. Yep. Right? They should generally stay behind the scenes, and he's injected himself in the discussion on both sides of the aisle so many times.
Yeah, and I think in this political climate, people are, I think, on both sides just sick of the tit for tat. I think that
it's only going to get worse.
It is only going to get worse. That's right.
I think the qualities that make him a great author did not make him the ideal FBI director. The second big story, 4 days and counting until yet another federal government shutdown if Congress can't pass a spending bill by Tuesday at midnight. Stop me if you've heard this before. But it could get even worse. The White House is reportedly making plans to fire many furloughed employees. Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, posting on X about it, saying this is intimidation and has nothing to do with funding the government. Another Democrat Senator, Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, calling it mafia-style blackmail, plain and simple. Republicans like Maine Senator Susan Collins and New York Congressman Mike Lawler also objecting to any mass firings. Just back and forth we go. And I think the American public has largely tuned out the government shutdown debate over the last decade plus.
That's right,
because we hear it every year, 2 years.
It comes down to the wire. It comes down to the wire every single time, which, again, I mean, congressional approval rating is pretty low in general. But if you just could never complete your job, right, year after year after year, and have to rush and possibly put in place emergency stopgaps before this happens, obviously there's a lot of unresolved situations and unresolved issues, including healthcare, spending cuts, on and on and on. But yes, it is a yearly, just like tax day, it is just a yearly expectation that we come down to the wire of passing a budget to keep the country running every year.
Guess what the betting markets say?
You
This
love
one is shocking to me because 68% chance that there is a government shutdown on Wednesday. I have followed this, and they rarely ever reflect the likelihood of a government shutdown. So maybe something is different this time in terms of how divided we are. We hope not. After the break, how artificial intelligence is coming to supermarkets and helping you shop smarter. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Connecting America. We have a couple of, did you order, by the way? Did you get your
Not
big
yet.
diner pages, your pages and pages of?
I'm getting some avocado toast.
Oh, that sounds good.
What are you going to get?
I'm getting the same exact thing. 2 eggs over easy, 4 pieces of crispy
You
bacon,
are
and white
consistent.
toast with butter.
Like it.
We have a couple of AI stories for you. A new Google study finds that more tech industry workers are using artificial intelligence on the job. The report found that 90% of respondents to the survey use it. That's up 14% from last year. They're using AI for tasks like writing and modifying code. And because of AI and what it can do, the data also suggests that it's getting harder for entry-level workers to find jobs in software engineering.
Interesting. Do you use AI a lot in your life?
I
do.
Yeah,
Grok.
Yeah,
you love Grok.
I like Grok. I talk to Perplexity. I talk to ChatGPT.
Can I just ask, like, what do you use it for?
I mean, for example,
or maybe it's easier to ask you what you don't use
I just use it to double check facts. I ask for primary sourcing on certain things. Find articles for me. It's just interesting. I also ask medical questions. I have to admit, I'm slightly a hypochondriac, so I'll take a picture and be like, "What's this?"
I think if you're not utilizing AI in your life, you're falling behind. It will impact every single industry in the world, with maybe the exception of the waiters here. AI is also in your grocery store. 3 ShopRite stores in central Jersey and some Pennsylvania locations have rolled out caper carts that powered by artificial intelligence. Scan your items and they tally up the bill. They also help you find discounts and coupons. You can check out right from the cart. No need to wait in line. Again, every industry we know will be impacted by AI.
Have you ever been to stores at the airport or even like some of the clothing stores where they literally know what the item is? You set it down and they have the price on it already, and then you just take it and you leave?
It's remarkable. It's going to strip us of millions of jobs. Will it create other jobs?
Hopefully.
That lies the big question.
Yes, it does. Well, big weather. We're talking about some tropics, some storms in the tropics. We have Humberto expected to turn into a hurricane later today in the Atlantic, and it keeps getting stronger. We're going to bring in AccuWeather meteorologist Alex De Silva, who has been tracking the latest. What's the latest on whether or not we're going to see that effect of the 2 storms?
Yeah, that's a great question. Humberto is actually a hurricane right now. It became a hurricane a couple of hours ago, way out here, Category 1 hurricane Humberto. The good news is this is not going to bring direct impacts to the United States, expected to strengthen, but expected to make a hard right-hand turn out to sea. The other area that we're watching is down here off the eastern tip of Cuba. This is our tropical rainstorm that we're expecting to develop here over the next couple of days as it slowly moves to the north. And then we're going to have to see how close Humberto gets. Again, here's the track of Humberto. Should be safely out to sea and away from the United States, but it still will be close enough that I think it's going to have an impact on what happens with our tropical rainstorm. So again, this is the area we're watching for. We should see some development here over the next couple of days as the system pulls to the north, bringing some pretty heavy rain to the portions of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. But then the big question mark is, what does it do when it gets closer to the United States? Are the 2 storms far enough apart that they can act independently of one another, and then this storm just goes north into the United States? Or does Humberto have a more of a pull aspect to it, and it was able to pull the storm out to sea? Right now, we expect that there could be a heavy rain potential anywhere from eastern Georgia, Carolinas, all the way up to portions of Virginia as well, if the storm is able to come inland. There are a various amount of scenarios here, some of which could bring the storm into the Carolinas, stall it, and then maybe loop it back out to sea. In that case, we could be dealing with some big-time rain problems in the Carolinas early next week. So we're going to have to follow this forecast really carefully. And then, like I mentioned, that pull from Humberto to the east, that's what's called the Fujiwara effect. And that's when 2 cyclones get within about 850 miles of one another, and then they actually start to orbit one another. You can see it here, the 2 cyclones orbiting counterclockwise. This actually could potentially save the United States from big-time impacts. If Humberto is able to get a little bit closer to this future named storm, which was likely to be Imelda, it could actually help to pull the storm out to sea without making landfall. That, of course, would be the best-case scenario. But again, everyone from Florida to the Carolinas needs to be on guard for potential impacts from this early next week.
Alex, I would usually ask you for an NFL forecast or a college football forecast, but this is Ryder Cup weekend. Bethpage Black is the national park, state park rather, hosting the Ryder Cup in Long Island. I see really good chance of showers on Sunday. Can you give me any info about the New York, New Jersey area?
Yeah, the good news is over the next 2 days, the weather looks pretty good out there. But like you just mentioned, we're going to have to keep a close eye out for some showery activity. Sunday morning, I think, is the better shot to see those showers. So if anybody's going to be out there Sunday morning, keep an eye to the sky and check the weather apps out there to check to see if there could be some showers in the forecast.
Oh, man, don't you mess with my Ryder Cup. Alex, thank you. President Trump, meanwhile, is going to be at the Ryder Cup today, and it is going to be an absolute. This is the reason I'm not going. Not because this is not a political statement. Did you see what happened at the U.S. Open?
Yes.
When President Trump went? The security lines were a debacle.
Yes, I did not go to Yankee
15 minutes,
Stadium.
they were near 2 hours. And this course is a state park. This will be an absolute debacle in terms of security.
But some people love to be part of that, you know? I mean, the people that stand in Times Square for New Year's Eve for hours and hours
Not
and
for
hours.
security, though.
Oh, yeah,
But
because
Trump,
you're behind
they
those
love
barriers.
Trump in the sport of golf, and they love him at Bethpage. He will get massive ovations. All right, let's check out our national diner of the day. We're going to Cleveland, Ohio. That's where my family's all from. You're going to love these photos from the diner. Martha on the Fly has some truly unique breakfast and lunch specialties you don't see at your typical diner. Cauliflower beef burrito?
California. Not Colorado.
Whoa. See, I'm tired.
Sorry.
Honey. California beef burrito. Oh my God, does that sound good with house smoked brisket? That's going to be my go-to.
Oh, but also,
what else you like?
The other one you saw was the fried chicken taco sandwich. That looks delicious.
Okay.
Carnita breakfast burrito flyby.
What is that, do you think, that's on the screen
that's
right
the one.
now?
I think that was the beef, the California beef burrito.
That right there.
Taco.
Can I just go fly out there for the weekend? I don't know. That looks
it does
delicious.
It does. It absolutely does. Is that a pancake around it, by the way? I think it was.
Right?
Yeah.
My goodness. I am hungry. I think we need to get some breakfast out here. We'll be right back after the break, and we are headed to Cleveland just to do a couple of shows to try that diner. Hey, I love Cleveland, man. Cuyahoga River. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Connecting America here at the Sunrise Diner. Week 4 NFL kicked off last night. Seattle Seahawks barely got by the Arizona Cardinals.
It's been coming down to a field goal
Been some
to a
exciting
field goal
games.
2 weeks in a row. Well, on Sunday, we're going to have a tale of two quarterbacks. The Giants naming rookie Jackson Dart as the starter against the Chargers. They benched Russell Wilson. Daniel Jones, who was also a first-round pick for the Giants, is now an Indianapolis Colt. They're undefeated 3-0. Joining us now to talk about it, Tyler Dragon. He covers the NFL and track and field for USA Today. And I want to in full disclosure, I am a lifelong Philadelphia Eagles fan. So I just want to get it out there.
We won't hold it against you.
Please don't hold it against me.
I think you may have hit the mute button, Tyler.
Wait, say again.
You just said
say
something
again.
funny, but you're muted.
All right, well, wait. Unmute yourself.
There we go. Tyler, you there, buddy?
No, we hear him. We hear him now.
Tyler, are you there, my friend?
I think I left him speechless when I said I was an Eagles fan.
I do. Still some audio issues. We'll see if we can work those out. Russell Wilson's distinguished career could be over. I'm surprised he hasn't demanded a trade. This is arguably a guy who's played himself out of the Hall of Fame. His time in Seattle put him there with the Super Bowl and repeated Pro Bowls. Then he goes to Denver. It was a debacle. Where did he go? Pittsburgh, debacle. Giants. He threw for 450 yards.
I know.
Arguably his best game ever. And the next week he was benched.
What does that say more about him, or does that say more about the Giants?
Well, look, I think
it
is Jackson Dart time. I'm surprised Jameis Winston didn't get a start there. But Philadelphia Eagles, your team, obviously you think they continue to stay undefeated this week.
Yes, they absolutely do.
A couple other things I just want to mention. First game ever in Dublin. You've got the Vikings and Steelers, 9:30 a.m. on Sunday. Very interesting. That's Micah cool. Parsons, Green Bay Packers, return to Dallas. He is arguably the best player defensively in football, returning to Dallas. That will be emotional. Let's get now to Mark Bonamo, who's talking to some folks here at the diner. Bonamo, time.
Good morning. How you doing? We're here in the diner. Who am I talking to today?
Miguel.
Where you live?
Linden.
Gotcha. And you?
Elizabeth. I live in Linden.
Wonderful. All right. We got a pretty hot governor's race here in New Jersey. Democrat Mikey Sherrill, Republican Jack Ciattarelli. What do you think of what's going on?
Don't know.
Yeah?
Too much thing going on.
Right. Now, you were talking to me before about politics being all upside down in this country. Why do you think that is?
Because they promise, never get nothing done.
Right. You think that's true on both sides? You think the Democrats and Republicans both make promises they can't keep?
Yeah.
Right. You know, how does it feel? Do you sometimes feel like in cities like Linden, small cities like Linden, or among Latinos, you guys are both Puerto Rican, right?
Yes.
Do you feel like you're being ignored by the party system, by Democrats and Republicans?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you feel it when you feel like you're being ignored?
Because if we see like we are different country,
right.
And Linden is different people, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, but we see they look other part like we not there.
Right.
They see other different races, not from us, like
right.
the Latin people.
Right. You don't feel seen.
Yeah.
You think that's true? You know, Latinos are a growing demographic here in the United States. You got Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Colombians, right? Do you think both political parties are understanding that Latinos are going to be increasingly important in our society and in our politics?
Not really.
Really? Why not?
Because it's like I say, everybody vote for somebody, and then when they vote thinking that person's going to do something, they do the opposite.
Right.
We don't get nowhere.
Right.
We stay in the same spot.
What do you think it's going to take for people? You know, what I'm sensing from you is a lot of distrust of politicians. What do you think it's going to take from politicians to get people to trust the political system again?
When they do the correct thing.
Right.
They're supposed to do the correct thing.
Right. And
for
what is that?
Everybody.
Right. For everybody.
For everybody. Not for only the Spanish, American, for everybody.
Right. What do you think, you know, there's the economy, there's all sorts of issues going on there. What do you think is the best thing politicians can do for the population?
They should stick together.
Right.
You know, to make things happen.
Right.
But Like I say, everything is upside down.
Gotcha.
So no matter what they try, they're not gonna fix nothing.
Right. You think the same thing?
Yes.
Right. Then if it's not the political class, how does America make itself better? How does Lyndon get better? How does New Jersey get better?
It's like he say, when everybody put each other together, they show everything together. Like they're gonna work together with the community.
Right. So you want to see people working together more, the political class. You want to feel like you're being engaged.
Yeah, because right now it's all about
money.
It's all about money. They don't
Right.
care about nobody.
Right.
They care for themselves.
Is that when you see all these commercials on TV, right? On television, do you think it's just all about money? That's how money's hitting you?
Everybody want to get paid.
Right.
You know?
Like New Jersey's got a particularly interesting reputation for that, like for corruption. You know, we've seen certain politicians even having gold bars in their house, money in their jackets, right? Do you think that you think that a lot of politicians are just acting like criminals instead of public servants?
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
And why do you think that is?
Because they care about themselves. They don't care about the people.
Right.
They don't care about the people. They vote for them. They think because they people vote for them, now they good. They don't need to do nothing else because
Right.
they win. They think they win. That is what they want.
So, if you could take a politician to Lyndon and show him around and try to make him or her feel what the people feel, where would you take them and why?
Ain't nothing gonna change. Nothing gonna change, no matter what you say.
Well, you know, that's the view from the diner. Yeah.
You know what it is? They made these people, they force these people to do different stuff. Why? Because they don't got no help from these people. Once you vote for these people, they just want to vote. Once they sit down, they forget about everybody.
Right.
You know, they just take care of that. They surrounded.
All right. Well, look, you keep eating your chicken soup, drink your coffee. Thank you both for your time. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks so much. Well, Connecting America's fitness correspondent Jenna Wolf is going to show us the top excuses that people use to not work out and how to overcome them.
Excuses. If I had a nickel for every time I heard one, I'd be able to buy myself a gym and then make an excuse why I couldn't go. Here are my top 3 workout excuses that I hear all the time and how to beat them. Excuse number 1, you don't have time, space, or any idea what to do. Okay, first of all, you have time. You spend 30 minutes Googling the actor from that show you watched last night. You can find some time. Here's what you're gonna do. Set a timer for 10 minutes, okay? Then pick any exercise, anything you want. Squats, lunges, front punches. You want to sweep, something that requires no space whatsoever. Work for 45 seconds, rest for 15. You don't need space, you only need 10 minutes, and there's your plan right there. Excuse number 2, you're too tired. I'm too tired. We're all out here running on cold brew and coping mechanisms. Oftentimes, movement will spark energy. I'll show up at the gym exhausted and I'll work 3 to 5 minutes just moving around. And then all of a sudden my body's like, oh, this is what we're doing, and catch on. Trust me, try it, it'll work. And excuse number 3, I'll start on Monday. Mystical, magical Monday, where abs are suddenly created. The first of the week, the first of the month, the first of the year, whatever it is, you wait so long, you'll accomplish nothing. Just go ahead and start. Force yourself. Start tired, start messy, just start. Bottom line, excuses are comfortable, progress is not. I say it all the time, nothing changes if nothing changes.
That's very true. All right, well,
Thank
we're
you,
going to
Jenna.
go back to Tyler Dragon, who covers the NFL and track and field for USA Today. We had some trouble with your audio. I'm glad you're back, but you were saying something when I told you, when I fessed up, that I'm a lifelong Eagles fan.
Yes. Well, can you hear me now, first of all?
Yes.
Yeah, I was complimenting your Eagles. I was saying I picked them last week, and they're looking good. So they're my Super Bowl pick.
Would you pick them again? They've got a big matchup this weekend.
I do. I think they're going to beat the Bucks. They have lost 2 straight against the Bucks, including a playoff win. So the Tampa Bay has had their number. I know it's on the road, but the good thing for the Eagles is they got their offense rolling last week, especially their passing game with A.J. Brown. That's been the missing piece through the first few weeks of the season. So as long as they could continue that momentum and then get Saquon Barkley rolling in the backfield. I like their chances in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, AJ has been just disappeared through the beginning of the season. A 3.5 point favorite on the road at Tampa. All right, so this New York quarterback situation, why so fast to go to Jackson Dart? Are you surprised that we didn't see Jameis? And is Russell Wilson's career over?
Man, that's a loaded question. I'll start with Russell Wilson. I do believe that his days as a starting caliber quarterback are over. You look, he's kind of been through the quarterback car wash with teams now, and really there's not any starting spots out there anymore. So it's probably best for his career. Maybe he wants to retire, go off into the sunset, retire at Seattle Seahawks, but his starting days, in my opinion, are over.
I'm just shocked Cincinnati is not like, send him here, man. Jake Browning's not the guy.
I have a feeling that might change. I think before Russell Wilson gets put on ice, I think that there could be a need for him. We'll see what happens.
Cincinnati,
But,
sure.
so you're throwing Jackson Dart in there against what a lot of longtime football watchers say is a good idea. You got him. He's going in, facing a tough team. And there's so much pressure on him to do something because of the abysmal start that the Giants have had.
Yeah, really, Jackson Dart's success is huge for Brian Daboll because it's contingent on his job. If Jackson Dart and the Giants don't do well, I can see the Giants firing Brian Daboll, the head coach. And really, there's a lot of pressure. Obviously, New York's the number one media market in the world. The Giants have not been a contender or playoff caliber team in a long time. And the schedule, the Giants have the toughest strength of schedule in the NFL. And he starts this week against a Los Angeles Charger team with a top 10 defense led by Derwin James and Deion Henley. So it's going to be a huge test for Jackson Dart. They do have a little bit of a break next week as they play the New Orleans Saints. It's another rebuilding team. They're not all that great, but this is going to be a significant test, especially this week for Jackson Dart.
I'm really watching two things. The Colts are 3-0 under a former Giants quarterback, Daniel Jones, and the Ravens are 1-2 and arguably the best team in the NFL. Which of those dynamics will prove to be a bit of a fluke?
The Colts. I feel like this is a measuring stick game this week. I'll actually be at that game. They're out here in Los Angeles and play the Rams, and the Rams are a really good football team. The Colts, they've been like the darlings of the NFL thus far. They've only punted one time through 3 weeks. Daniel Jones is one of the league leaders in passing yards. He's kind of resurrected his career. And not to mention Jonathan Taylor, he leads the NFL in yards from scrimmage and rushing yards. So this has been kind of a renaissance team for the Indianapolis Colts. However, it's still early, and I think when it's all said and done, the Colts are going to come back to reality real soon.
Julia, I think they've got the best offensive mind in football, and I'm just so happy for Daniel Jones. He deserved another shot.
I'm happy for him as well. I just think it's sad for Giants fans, and I have Giants fans in my family. That it just seems Saquon's gone. Saquon's with us. Jones does great when he leaves. I mean, it really doesn't look good for this franchise.
Real quick, you write about everything in your column. What do you think of NFL in Dublin? How is that going to be received? That's the first one, I think, ever, right? Sunday?
Yeah, it's the first game ever. And actually, the late Dan Rooney was an ambassador to the country. So the Pittsburgh Steelers have ties in Dublin. I think it's going to go over well. I mean, like I said, the Steelers have ties there. The Minnesota Vikings. This is going to be a pretty good game with two playoff caliber teams. And the NFL, they're trying to build the game, make them a more global game. So I think it's going to go over well. Fans going to have to get up early, though, especially out here in the West Coast with that 6 a.m. kickoff.
6:30 Pacific time. We love it. 9:30 is perfect, man.
It is.
6:30 is not cool.
And I also have a feeling that Dublin's going to love this.
The NFL sells everywhere, man. It's the king.
They're gonna have
Tyler Dragon, you're the man, buddy. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, well, when we come back just in time for the weekend, a little boost of energy with our yoga guru, Gwen Lawrence. So stay with us. Well, if you're looking for a quick boost of energy without reaching for another cup of coffee or this, by the way, delicious cappuccino that Trish made, you're in luck, actually. Gwen Lawrence, she trains New York top pro athletes with her signature yoga practice, and she's going to help get us recharged for the weekend. There you are.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Trish is here with us too, so she's ready to do some yoga. Where are we starting?
All right. Well, first, how can yoga possibly boost your energy? Very simply, it stimulates your nervous system, also increases the blood and oxygen to your brain and your muscles, just overall sense of well-being. I'm going to make it easy for you today, and I'm actually going to give you two things that you can do right now at your seat, so no excuses. The first one, very simple, is going to be a forward bend. So for me, I'm going to do a standing forward bend. You guys can just push back and fold right over your lap. The overall goal here is to get your head lower than your heart so that you get a big rush of blood and oxygen to the brain. So we can't see you right now. Take a couple of deep breaths. I'm going to go here, get a nice stretch, and also roll it up nice and slow. We don't want you to get dizzy and pass out at your desk today. And
That's pretty
the
good.
next one, it's good, right? I mean, and you're just going to get that nice pink flush too. So you could do it in between guests. And the next one we're going to come down, I'm going to come down to seated. And this one's a seated cat-cow. It feels really good. It's going to open up your front spine, your back spine, and moreover, it's going to open up your heart and rib cage. And anytime you stretch any muscle around or throughout the ribs, you're bringing more lung capacity, more oxygen. So you're just going to sit with your hands on your knees, and you're going to arch the back, lift the chin with a big inhale, and you're going to round and exhale.
The cat.
Is it? I mean, people do this innately, right? If you're just sitting at your desk and your back is kind of sore, you're just going to want to stretch it. And this doesn't even look too.
Trish has a bunch of cats. That's
And ears.
Yep. And
Okay.
she wears
Well,
cat
they do
ears to
this.
the diner every morning, so she's
All right.
she's into it.
Well, if you watch your cats, they do this every time they get up from a
They do.
still
All
position.
27
So we should learn, right? So a couple of those, you could do a minute, you could do one, you could do two, whatever space you have for your day. And then finally, what better way to increase our energy than to align with our greatest source of energy, which is the sun, with a simple sun salutation. This is going to open up every joint in the body and warm every muscle in the body and sync your breath with your movement, which helps kind of get rid of some of that mind chatter. So I know you guys can't do this. I'm going to show you a very, very simple one today. You just take a deep breath in, you exhale, fold over. You're just going to step back for a nice simple plank pose. You could drop your knees or you can lower it down. Stretching front body, inhale and exhale, down dog, walking
Dave's
forward.
going for it here. Gwen,
All right.
you have such great form, I have to say.
Well,
How's
thank
mine,
you.
Karen? How's mine?
Dave, wow. Dave's form's pretty good, actually, too. I don't know if you can see it from here. But Trish, he really is doing, you know how some of the guys, they don't get their shoulders back enough?
No, his shoulders.
Yeah.
Like great. They look
Good.
great.
That's going to get that oxygen in there. And let's look for that nice flush for him.
He's certainly flushing. Gwen Lawrence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we talking about the cold plunge too?
Oh,
Get back here.
okay, I'm coming. I love yoga. I absolutely love it. Sorry to interrupt.
All right, well, is Gwen staying with us right now?
I'm heading out, but I want you to do that sun salutation, put on your favorite song, and go nuts.
All right, we'll think of you when we do it today, I promise. Thanks so much.
All right.
Do you do yoga, Trish?
No, but I recently attended a sound bowl meditation that was lovely.
Oh, that's where they make
Yes.
What goes on there? Is it just to relax you?
I mean, a girlfriend of mine's really into it, and I just thought
Well,
I
people
would
love them.
go. But it was a lovely experience. I did feel very relaxed, and more than just the bowls, they walked around with different things. They rang over you, and it was. I mean, I'd go again.
They're doing that at a lot of wellness retreats. People are really saying that helps calm them down.
I felt lovely.
That's great. Anytime you're in an environment where you can kick back, relax, and just be where you are instead of worrying about things, the sound bowl, I'm sure the sounds also make it.
I mean, I heard people falling asleep. I heard some
Really?
snoring during it, so it's very relaxing.
It doesn't work here. I thought maybe I could try it with cappuccino. There's no calming.
No, I don't think
I'll
it
bring you a
works that
crystal
way.
bowl tomorrow, Monday.
Well, Trish, I want to know if you would do this, by the way. Are we showing this picture? Okay, that's me, sadly, in this cold plunge, okay? And this is only at 62 degrees, and I'm freezing in it.
62,
My husband
okay.
does it at 49 to 53 degrees for 10 minutes every single day, and he says it has completely changed his life in terms of energy.
Well, the cold water is supposed to help with your pores. I know that. I've done it on my face.
Would you get in full body?
I mean, didn't people have problems with the ice bucket challenge? Weren't there some health concerns? I'm not sure.
How did you feel after it? Like, did you feel it provide
awake.
benefits throughout your day, or did it just make you cold?
If I'm being honest, I don't think it was cold enough. It was basically
62 is really cold,
okay.
Karen.
Well, then I felt great.
62 is plenty cold for a cold plunge.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I do mine at like 54, but 62 is plenty cold.
All right. As you can tell by my face, it was a bit of
I know,
a
your
shock to the
face is
system.
stunned. So Did you go
My
under?
daughter took a picture as soon as I sat down. No, I just went in up to here.
That thing tells you the temperature?
Yeah,
Yes.
it has.
Fancy.
How long were you in it?
Like 30 seconds.
Oh, see, that's the problem. You need to stay in there like 5 minutes
I know.
to get the true impact of it.
So you do it.
I did it regularly for weeks, and then my wife said, "No more." I was too jacked up, like I was too, and it wasn't
Too
a
much
good
energy?
thing.
You
It
need
was
to bring
just
it down
too
about
much.
10?
I needed to bring it down a little bit. So I run pretty hot. Like
Yes,
you know.
I get
so
it.
She wanted to turn it down a little bit, so we
So
stopped.
40?
At some point, he wouldn't be moving. Well, that is a very interesting thing. Now, apparently, it stimulates the vagus nerve, and
The vagus nerve?
Yeah, something up here, and that is why you feel wellness.
What I prefer much more than a cold plunge is a hot sauna. Do you ever go in the sauna?
I have not.
Oh,
Again,
the
fancy.
sauna or the
I like
steam?
a hot tub. I like to chill in
I had
a
one of
hot
those
tub.
on my honeymoon in the
You
cabin we
did.
rented. That
You
was
did.
lovely. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yes.
It was very cold outside too, so I enjoyed the hot tub.
During COVID, we did buy one of those Coleman hot tubs. And, you just jumped in there.
Well, it's been a wonderful week, Trish. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Kieran
Thank
Chetry, thank you for being here as well. If you want to connect with us, you can download the Best of Connecting America each day wherever you get your podcast. Just type in Connecting America in the search bar. Follow us on social media. We are all over Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Enjoy a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being here with us. We will see you back here in New Jersey on Monday.